Good afternoon. Argonaut is an ASX-listed company, stock exchange code ARE. We're capped at about $34 million at the moment. We've just recently raised $5.5 million in a private placement, which puts our cash position at about $6 million. Myself, Pat Elliott, as chairman, Andrew Bursell and Malcolm Richford, who's an ex-Rio executive, on the board. Our three main projects, the projects that we operate, are Torrens, a copper project in South Australia, Lumwana West, a Zambian copper cobalt project, and a project at Higginsville in the eastern goldfields of WA. Our main focus is our Torrens exploration project in South Australia. Torrens has been essentially approvals and native title play for a long time, and after many years of efforts and disruptions, we this year became fully permitted to commence a major drilling program. It's a very large gravity anomaly that sits under a dry salt lake in South Australia. This was previously a Western Mining target when Western Mining discovered the Olympic Dam deposit in the 1970s. We've held it continuously since 1998, and it has taken literally that long to crack the native title nut, but we're now through that phase. This slide, just quickly, is a size comparison. The satellite image you see in the background is the Olympic Dam mine in South Australia, which is a deposit of about 150 million copper equivalent tonnes in ground, and it's denoted there on this diagram with the red outline, which is its ore deposit projected to surface. The yellow outline you see there is our major gravity anomaly, our Bugay anomaly, and the white lines you see in here are our residual gravity anomalies, which are effective drill targets. And the purpose of this slide is just to show the size comparison between our anomaly that we'll be drilling shortly in a behemoth deposit like Olympic Dam. We have just recently, since receiving our final approval from the South Australian Government, flown an airborne gravity and magnetic survey to replace some old data. You see a preliminary version of the new data there, which has just in the last few days been tidied up, and the previous gravity data that we were working on, historic gravity data, and you can see the difference in resolution there. On the right hand side we've got a magnetic data, and it's essentially a geophysical exploration play, this Torrens target. It's beneath 450 metres of sedimentary cover, so it's a deep diamond drilling proposition. We did manage through the history of the project to get on in 2007 to drill 3 holes before our access difficulties shut us down. And in the drilling of those 3 holes, we found exactly the type of iron oxide copper gold mineralisation we were looking for. Importantly, we were looking for a secondary alteration of hematite rather than the abundant magnetite that we find throughout this large anomaly, and we drilled through glyphs of that before, unfortunately, our drilling was shut down again. So that was in early 2008. We've been waiting 10 years for the opportunity to get back on, and now we're permitted and ready to go. The deposit sits in a particularly prospective belt of geology. You've got Oz Minerals' Carrapateena mine in development at the moment, Oz Minerals' Prominent Hill mine, which was discovered by Minotaur in 2001, and BHP's Olympic Dam mine there, all within this Olympic domain and sitting nearby to this Torrens hinge zone, which is a pivotal geophysical structure or geological structure. The Torrens project is in joint venture, 30% Argonaut Resources and 70% Aeris Resources. Aeris, through an earn-in, earned its 70% via expenditure. The project's being operated by Argonaut, and the joint venture is pro rata. In the last 14 months, we've gained our pivotal native title approval in March 2017 after a very long period. We were then subsequently and appropriately granted our operational and environmental permit by the relevant ministers, and just in late February this year we got our final approval, which was an Aboriginal heritage approval. In terms of the timeline for drilling, we're looking at the contracts for the helicopters and drill crew and camp site at the moment. We're then moving on to finalising the standard operating procedures for safety and environment, which are critical in the case of this project, mobilisation of the camp after that, and drilling commencing in the third quarter of 2018. Our program will consist of 25 to 30 deep diamond drill holes, all to 1,000 plus metres, and it'll be helicopter supported. We'll commence with one drilling rig, and then we'll move on to 2 or 3 drilling rigs to bring on some better value for the campsite and helicopter. I'm just going to quickly go through our copper cobalt deposit in northwestern Zambia. Our Lumwana West tenement sits here in between First Quantum's Sentinel deposit, a Sentinel mine now, Barrick's, formerly Equinox's Lumwana mine, and First Quantum's Kansanshi mine. Essentially, this belt of geology in northwestern Zambia is host to over 800,000 tonnes per annum of copper production, which has come on since 2005. So it really is a hotspot in the world for additional copper mine production. This is the DRC border sitting up here. We sit down here. Our Nyungu deposit is in this part of the tenement there. We're well endowed with infrastructure. This is a main highway through here. These are high voltage transmission lines, and we have a rail line coming across the top. We commenced drilling in this area in August 2011. We immediately had luck hitting copper and coincidentally cobalt, although that wasn't a focus at the time. We've defined the Nyungu Central deposit over 1,700 metres, and there is plenty more strike to continue to define in that project, in that particular deposit. At the time when people were paying a penalty for excess cobalt in concentrates, we were hitting it in our drill intercepts. The first hole we drilled had a 120 metre cobalt intercept. As we drilled deeper into the deposit, we started getting higher cobalt grades and still at very significant widths in copper cobalt sulfide mineralisation. We also have a good opportunity in cobalt oxide, where we see oxidised cobalt, we see considerably higher grades. Essentially, we've got a resource, or just sub-JORC resource at the moment due to drill spacing of about 155 million tonnes at about 0.55% copper for about 750,000 contained tonnes of copper and about 20,000 contained tonnes of cobalt. Sorry, 20,000 contained tonnes of cobalt. Our cobalt sits in the footwall of the deposit. This is the copper cross-section. This is the cobalt cross-section through the same cross-section. So the cobalt is effectively found coincident with copper in that footwall. This is our copper geological model as it stands now, over 1,700 metres. And amongst that, in the copper model, this is the cobalt shells. The deposit has an amazingly low stripping ratio. A pit optimised at the current copper price is looking at 1.5 tonnes of waste to 1 tonne of ore down to 280 metres. That's exceptionally low. And if we extrapolate for higher prices and bringing cobalt into the equation, as we take the pit down to 350 metres, we're still at 2.3 to 1, which is exceptionally low. The work that we're doing now to bring value into this project is essentially metallurgical work. We need to bring a flow sheet to the market and show everybody how we're actually going to produce a cobalt product and a copper product from that. This metallurgical test work is underway in Australia now. We have a SXEW specialist and a flotation specialist working with us. We're also going to be doing some dense media separation work on our oxide, but it's fair to say that the metallurgy is going to unlock the pathway forward for us and is critical. So just to summarise, Argonaut, we're capped a little bit over that now at about $34 million. We really aren't seeing much value in our share price for our cobalt and copper asset in Zambia, which has just been renewed in February by the Zambian government, and so we're here spreading the word and showing people what we have up our sleeve there and bringing some more news flow into the market with that project over the next year, as well as the imminent commencement of drilling at Torrens in South Australia. Thank you very much.